step in the room, I set the vibe. Mic in my hand, I let it ride.
Welcome back to another episode of the Speak Like the Boss podcast. I'm Anthony. This is Chase. We're back for another episode. What do we got new this week?
It's a crazy world we live in.
Crazy world. What did you see?
Opened TikTok to check, views and comments and things like that.
Spicy this week.
And
Spicy.
It was spicy. The very first clip when I opened the app was a sex scene. Uncensored.
Okay.
From
full on.
From a show that I've seen. And it's a very good show. But it's supposed to be the actors are obviously older, right? They're of age,
Yeah.
but in the scene they're supposed to be like
Kids.
16, 17-year-olds. And it's just a full on
Is it Euphoria or something?
No, it's not Euphoria.
Okay. That's the only one I know of.
It's Shameless.
Okay.
They are full on going at it. And that's like the first thing.
So nudity on TikTok, but banned if you say corn.
Yeah.
Great.
Or,
don't talk about it.
Or like
But
talk shit about
here's some ditties.
Yeah, talk shit about what's causing the degradation of society.
Of course not. You can't talk about that.
And you get banned.
Yeah.
I just that threw me for a loop there.
That kind of goes into our topics this week. We got just a couple of questions and topics that we wanted to go over and see where it takes us. Did you have anything else before we jump on in?
No.
No? Ready to go? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Ironheart trailer and the hate that it's been getting. Have you seen it? Have you looked into it at all?
I tried to look it up, but I guess I wasn't looking for the right things.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was like a movie trailer.
Yeah, so new TV show on Disney Plus. It's continuing the Marvel series. It's been out for, over a decade now. It is the continuation of Iron Man, right? So Iron Man, if you haven't watched the movie, spoiler alert, like 5 years ago, Iron Man died in the movies, right?
Yeah. And
So-
I don't think you're supposed to, according to the comic books. That like really bothered me.
Yeah. Isn't that, no, if you're talking about, this is the argument right now. If you're talking about comic book and how it's supposed to go, the movies have done their own thing.
Yeah, which is
Right.
stupid. That's why I stopped watching.
It's whatever. It's its own universe. It's doing its own thing, right? But with that being said, that's literally the counter argument for the Ironheart trailer now. So the reason that the Ironheart trailer is getting as much backlash and hate is because it is a young black girl who is very boss babe. I haven't seen it through the trailer, but from what I've been told, she is not straight.
Of course, it's Disney.
she's a teenager, and it's very woman empowering, and she's super smart, and she basically becomes the new Iron Man, which is Ironheart, right? So she's gonna go save the world now because girl power. Which this is the problem, okay? It's the people that are fighting for it, which is a very few minority, are saying that's exactly how she is in the comic book. Okay.
Oh, so she's actually in the comic. I haven't kept up with the comics.
But here's I'm going to give you the caveat as somebody who knows, right? The caveat to that is we haven't followed the comic books at all so far, so why start now? And then second, the Ironheart comic books only were created after Disney had control of Marvel. So it's not an original Marvel character anyway. It's a Disney-created Marvel character to push an agenda. And they're just now pushing the agenda further in the media category and space.
I guess they didn't learn their lesson with that South Park episode.
They never learn. They're never going to learn. Until they go bankrupt, they're just never going to get it. It's
They're
crazy.
never going to go bankrupt.
No, they have too much money. They just don't care. They're not even about making money anymore. They're about pushing an agenda. That's what it is.
So I'm going to probably get us canceled and get called a racist for saying this.
Here we go. Spicy.
So first off, okay,
Jesus.
how many female engineers are there? Mechanical / software engineers. But there are definitely a lot more software engineers, but that term is thrown around more loosely today, right?
Sure.
How many people in the world would you say are even close to the level
Tony Stark.
Yeah, so like these are
Very
people
few.
who are inventing. These are people who are working on like rocket ships and inventing the groundbreaking new technology, like the people who created cell phones and stuff like that, and figured out that they could bounce these
Sure.
signals off of the ionosphere and back down to wherever it needs to be picked up. Right. The chances of it being a woman.
A teenage girl.
Well, first
From the
off,
ghetto.
let's say a woman, period,
general.
right?
Yeah.
A woman in general.
Yeah.
It's not happening. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, could it happen for argument's sake?
Yeah, she could be the one-off in the entire universe, right?
But the bell curve is real, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at statistics, when you look at measurable intelligence,
I'm gonna play somewhat of a devil's advocate here. We're talking about Marvel, where superheroes exist anyway.
It doesn't
So it
matter.
doesn't matter what's real and what's
if
fake.
they want it to be relatable, it needs to be somewhat in the
Relatability.
realm of reality, right? And to be somewhat in the realm of reality, that would be looking at statistics and going, the bell curve is real. And when you look at measurable intelligence, men tend to occupy
Majority of those jobs, career field in general.
Well, when you look at measurable intelligence, so like if you had a standard IQ test that everyone in the world had to take,
yeah, they rank the highest.
men would occupy the extremes. They would be the dumbest and they would be the smartest.
Correct.
Women would be very in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
most of them are balanced.
Most of them would be in the middle,
Yep.
right? Not toward. Sure, one or two could be close to the edge, or close
always
to the extreme.
exceptions.
There's always an exception.
Yep.
Statistically speaking, at least. So is this woman? She's from the ghetto. You said she's like from.
Yeah, I believe so. Wherever.
Where?
I don't know. I didn't.
You don't know where she's from?
I don't
Okay,
know.
but she's
I
in
don't know
America,
enough about
right?
it. She's in America, yeah.
Okay, so this is the part that's going to get us in trouble.
Okay, here we go.
Statistically speaking, Black Americans score lower on measurable
Of
intelligence.
course, but
So, like,
I agree.
to
But
say that it's a woman, she
Yeah.
grew up in an impoverished
but that's
area.
the point of why they're doing it.
She grew up, but still, she grew up in an impoverished area, and
Disney is known as taking the most far-fetched idea and person and implementing them into the main character
you
role.
are not wrong.
That's what they
I'm
do.
just pointing out the irony and saying
But
that
that's the
it's
point. They went as
relatable.
far-fetched as crazy. It's not meant to be relatable. It's meant to give young black girls a role model character.
They do have a role model. Candace
In the
Owens
Marvel
has a
universe.
platform.
No, in the Marvel universe.
I do like Candace, by the way. I'm not saying that like as a shot.
No, right. So to go into this, it has received the most dislikes on any Marvel content so far.
Well, gee, I wonder why.
That's why I wanted to bring it
I
up.
wonder why. It's because it's not relatable for the majority of their
because-
freaking viewer base.
People are tired of all this Disney nonsense and the agenda pushing.
Well, and two,
Just
well,
make, if you want us to continue to watch your crap, stop making it so focused on inclusivity for everybody.
So-
Just make the damn show, make it good, and give us the characters we want. Nobody has even heard of Ironheart up until now.
yeah,
Unless you're a super comic nerd, and that person is also the minority.
yeah. Even then, they've probably heard of it and not read the freaking comic,
I have a better one.
because the people who are reading comics are not relating to that.
They killed off Iron Man, which was played by Robert Downey Jr., but the guy's still doing Marvel movies. He still wants to
Yeah.
come back as Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
So you should have just never killed him off.
yeah.
If he's still willing to work with you and make more movies, you should have kept him as Iron Man.
If I'm not mistaken,
Doesn't even make sense. They did it for like stupid reasons.
well, if I'm not mistaken, they did it because they were like, oh well, he's kind of aging out of the role. But here's
just
the thing.
age him into the new
That
role of
was-
being the guy who sits around and teaches the young kids. He had a great
Yeah,
partnership
give us-
with Spider-Man in those movies.
Yeah, give us a Batman Beyond scenario, right?
Exactly. And then the other side of it, people have been referring back to, I don't know if you remember, like I think it was Iron Man 2. There's a part where he flies off, he gets trapped in a barn when he loses his suits
Yeah.
and powers and
Yeah.
all this stuff for a little while. Everything's falling apart on him, right? There was a little boy in the scene that's
Yeah.
playing with the suit and learning things. They were like, why didn't they just use him?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, because he's a white kid.
Yeah, because it's a white guy. It's a white
It's,
male.
it's crazy. Like, it would have made sense with the story and the continuity of what has already happened rather than just grab a new character out of nowhere.
Only Disney will be able to do this and get away with making absolutely no money on it because
they don't care.
Well,
They don't need the money.
Netflix learned the hard way a few years ago. When you put
Yep.
an obscene amount, we'll say a significant amount of funding towards trying to appeal to a very small minority of the population of your viewer base, you're going to lose money.
Right.
But I mean, it's like we said earlier, they're so freaking big, they're not going to fail.
No, they're not. Not at
And
all.
they're just going to keep doing this shit. You know what's funny is that the woman who was the CEO, Kathleen, whatever, she got
For
replaced,
Star Wars?
didn't she?
I don't think so.
I thought she got replaced.
Did she finally? She needs to.
If I could be
She
wrong,
made terrible decisions.
If somebody watching knows,
I think
or
she's
wants
still
to Google
there,
it,
but I don't. And she's still in the same role. I just don't think she has as much input in the direction of Star Wars. They replaced her with Dave Filoni as far as like the producer role.
well, then Star Wars is fine.
Yeah, it's been getting better. It's
Yeah.
been getting better.
I'm actually watching the second season of Andor. I didn't even realize it came out.
I haven't watched the first one. That one's good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Andor's the
Andor
one
is
show I
worth
have not
watching.
watched.
Andor is
to.
worth watching. Hopefully the second season of Ahsoka gets better. I didn't enjoy the first one, but I also watched Rebels. So like, I don't think they did. God, I said I watched Rebels, and then I don't even remember the character's name.
Rebels is great. I loved Rebels.
Who's the young dude, the Jedi, who's trained by?
Thank you for all the likes. Which one? The
it's
young
been a
kid.
while. Yeah,
It's
he went.
Jesus.
He
Kanan is the
yeah, I
is
know
the
Kanan
older
is
one.
the older one.
Ezra.
Ezra, thank you. I don't
Yeah.
know why I couldn't remember that.
Yep.
I don't think they did, without spoiling anything, they definitely did not do Ezra's character justice.
In Ahsoka.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
did
think
not.
they ruined.
No, they ruined what he should have been.
I'm so terrible with names right now, and it's been a while since I watched it. Bear with me.
The other girl.
Yeah, what's her
Sabine?
name? Sabine. Thank you. Yes, Sabine. They ruined Sabine's character as well.
Yep.
But yeah, no, Andor is fantastic.
I have to watch it. I got to catch up on everything. It just watching TV shows is very meh for me as far as like I want to waste my time
Yeah.
doing it right now.
I usually,
in my life.
I won't say when I usually do it, but I do it probably when I shouldn't be.
That's fair. That's
No,
fair. That makes sense.
I genuinely hope that that since they didn't learn their lesson, South Park creates another episode making fun of them, and they rip them to shreds. I'm looking forward to that.
They probably will at some point. That kind of. Did you have anything else on that stuff? I mean, that kind of brings us into the next topic of social media and what it's doing. Right?
I made the spicy comment. So
You made your spiciness. All right. So the next thing I wanted to do is just check out a quick video and get your reaction to it.
make sure you put it on screen before you.
Yeah, I'll pull this up here. So, quick little video, and we'll talk about it after here.
I'm Nala Ray. It's so nice to be here today. So I was one of OnlyFans' top models for the last 5 years, and I got saved, and I radically gave my life to the Lord and gave that life up.
Praise the Lord.
So I want to know, would you support a ban on porn in America, and what would you do to make that happen?
If it's, unfortunately, I don't think it's legal, but absolutely. I mean, first of all, porn is no different than a digital opiate and an
Absolutely.
addiction. I mean, we've seen states that have made it harder to access, and porn rates have gone down.
Yeah.
But you were once an OnlyFans model.
Yeah.
What would you have to say to the danger and the damage that does to young people?
Honestly, so much. It depends on sex as well. It has different effects on men than it does women. Like for men, it shuts them down. They don't know how to be in good relationships. They don't know how to treat women. For women, it's all emotional, and they just continue to get compared to the women in porn. You know,
Correct.
so honestly,
If you guys can't
I'd
hear
say
that
some
properly on the
self-control
stream,
would
let
go
us
a really
know.
long way, which is also one of the fruits of the spirit. So I think America needs a revival right now. That's what I
Praise
think.
the Lord. Stay there for a second. I have a message to men, and then I want you to give a message to women. Men, if you are consuming OnlyFans, it is no different than you going out with a prostitute every night. The only difference is that you guys get to hide behind some screen. You are contributing to the dehumanization and delegitimization of millions of young women
You're
that are nothing
supplying the
more.
demand.
You are supplying the demand of the new online sex trade, and you need to stop doing it and repent in front of God for contributing to this awful cancer of selling your body for cash online. That is my message to men.
Before we finish that, what are you thinking about her as a person first?
Well, I mean, I've seen most of the interviews and the panels that she's been on.
I've
Both.
never seen her before.
Both
Okay.
Pre and post
Got it.
born again virgin bullshit.
Okay. But
I don't want to say she's a fake person because I don't know her, but if it looks like a dog, acts like a dog, smells like a dog,
yeah,
it's probably
probably
yeah. I'll get into it more when we finish the.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll finish it off.
What is your message to women that sell their bodies online?
Honestly, you're so much more worth it than that. I don't know who hurt you in your life, if you have daddy issues, mommy issues, but you were made for so much
Women
more
always
in
go to
the
the
eyes
trauma
of God.
response.
You were fearfully and wonderfully made, and that is it.
It's how they
Mic
can
drop.
God bless you. Thank
Relate.
you so much. Thank you.
to another
Hi,
woman.
Charlie.
So
I'm Nala Ray.
yeah. Okay. So just finish.
It's so nice to be here
So
today.
first off, it's hilarious that women immediately go to the trauma response. Who hurt you? You know.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other. It's bullshit. Sometimes people don't have to be hurt. Sometimes people just aren't good people, or they have no guidance in life and they do stupid shit.
True.
It's not rocket science. It's not something that needs to be analyzed. And always going to trauma creates like a victim mentality about it.
So what I was torn between it because I thought the message was good. The overall, right?
Well, sure. The
message was like uplifting, positive, you know, I learned from my mistakes kind of thing.
Well,
But then the other side of it is, do we forgive all the transgressions of what she just did, or is she just coping with what she's done and now looking for salvation?
I'll get into that. I'll get
What
into
up,
that.
Dalton?
I'll get into that. First off, let's
Welcome
talk
back.
about forgiveness, okay?
Yep.
So can she be forgiven? According to the Christian faith, yes, she can be forgiven, okay? But part of forgiveness
Yep.
is repentance, okay?
Yep.
And to repent literally means to change your ways. So you have to like change how you're living. You have to completely stop doing that thing to fully receive forgiveness. That's not talked about a lot because that makes people
So
uncomfortable.
it sounds like she quit, right? She was a top
Right.
earner, but do you get forgiveness after you made millions of dollars?
So-
I guess
so-
is the
so
question.
one-
Doing something unethical.
So one, she made billions of dollars, okay,
Right.
and two, she's still making money by going around being like the
Using
poster
that
child
as
of,
a-
yes.
Now I'm a reformed.
This is yes. The Reformed Hoe Act is just. I guess I shouldn't call it an act because I don't
304.
know for sure.
Yeah.
The Reformed 304 Act.
Yep.
It's she's monetizing.
Sounds like a
it.
bill we're putting in place.
I know, right?
The Reformed 304 Act.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's just monetizing it right now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
She's using a lot of the buzzwords that new Christians or Christians who like say they're Christian but don't really practice. She's
Sure.
using a lot of the same buzzwords that they would use. You know, you're better than that. There's a God that loves you. I think she said something about you were born in whatever. That's you hear that a lot whenever
Yeah.
you hear people who try to explain something to someone about the Christian faith or about how good they are and pure they are, but they don't actually know what they can't be like, I can cite scripture, I can, tell you why it says this kind of thing.
Right.
Her life is still really good. We will see where she goes and what happens when she deals with real hardship. This is a phase. This is a fad. I don't know how long she's going to be able to keep monetizing this.
Does she need to? I wonder how much of the money she saved, and is she just good and she's
Well,
set now? Because she said she was like on the
sure.
top end of earners.
Sure, if she
Right.
invested her money wisely and or still has a good chunk of it, then yeah, she should be fine. But the Bible talks about
Should be fine.
people show you who they really are when
Yeah.
they are tested. So if she goes through hardship or something bad happens, or like her simp husband wakes up and smells I shouldn't say smells the roses, but smells the fish.
Yep.
So let's talk about him.
Smells the
Like
tuna.
he seems like a respectable guy, seems like a nice guy. I don't want to shit on him. But the problem is that I think he's genuinely too young. I shouldn't say too young, but
Talking
too
about Charlie?
innocent. No, her husband.
Oh, her
She's
husband.
married now.
She's married.
And they got married and so fast and in such
After
a
the
fashion.
career?
Yes.
Okay.
And in such a fashion that one, it made me seem like she decided like it seemed to me like she had some kind of doubt in her head like, crap, I don't want to be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And then this guy came along who, quite frankly, he doesn't really have any experience with women. if he was a virgin until their wedding night, I would believe it 1000%, because there's no way in hell a man with experience would take that woman seriously, right?
Well, you said he was young.
I think he's definitely younger.
Even myself, at a young age, within my early 20s, I was naive enough to not. It would have bothered me, but if the girl was pretty enough, I still would have said yes. Do you know what I mean? Like I was just still in that phase where I was like, but it wasn't as high of a priority for me as it is now. It's having somebody who's not promiscuous in their past. Because now I know better of what kind of damage that's going to cause in the future of the relationship.
Yeah.
I won't even put myself in that position. But in the past, I would be more. That is random. But yeah, in the past, I'll get back to that question, Dalton. He's asking what kind of shoes we were wearing today.
Oh, can he see my shoe?
He might be able to. No, I don't think. No, because I think our feet are cut off. I don't even have shoes.
You're not
on.
wearing shoes, yeah.
I got my socks on, so. We're going on. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So what I was getting at is this guy. So I've seen this a lot. You see a lot of young men who are fairly innocent. They don't have a lot of experience dating women.
Yep.
And they finally find an attractive woman who wants to give them attention. And they're like, shit, I don't want to sin. I want to wait till marriage. I need to hurry up and lock this girl down. So he's going to marry her super fast so he can have sex.
Yep. So jump into this part because it goes into our next question. I'm gonna save the next question for a minute, but the part of the video that we just watched, she's reformed, found Jesus, going to church now, everything like that. I understand that there's supposed to be the forgiveness phase and all the things. Just being somebody that's more of a religious follower than me, you know more about it. I would say, what is your take, and do you believe a girl at face value? After she's been making millions on OnlyFans and now she's reformed.
I don't believe her, but that doesn't mean she isn't truly reformed. There's a line in scripture that says something to the extent of show me a believer and I'll show you, like, show me a man who's a believer and I'll show you one who does good acts or something like that.
Sure.
It's all about where she goes from here. I definitely think it's just an act. It's kind of bullshit. I definitely see that her and her husband getting into an argument, not being able to reconcile, splitting up, and then she'll be like, it was God's plan. It was God's purpose. Right? Use that bullshit excuse.
Now everything that makes a mistake in her life is going to be,
it's God's
this
plan.
Is what God had in store for me, right?
Yeah. It's a scapegoat instead of accepting responsibility for the decision she made. Yep. And so to answer your question, we'll have to see where she goes. I don't want to get in too much because you have questions that I'll kind of go into on that stuff. But
yeah, it takes us into the next question. So any of our TikTok people that stick around, please join in. And if you have any comments on the conversation, we'll address them.
Real quick, shoes that I'm wearing.
Shoes that he's wearing. What are these shoes?
The brand is called Witten. Whitin. They are. I think that's how you pronounce it.
A quality shoe, or these are cheap shoes for comfort?
I mean, they don't cost a lot, but they're hella comfortable. I've got like 4 pairs now. I have a nicer pair too. That was the white and brown pair that I was like, fuck, I'm sad these got messed up,
dirty. Yeah,
when we went out. They're super. They make a lot of wide shoes. I don't. My foot's not super long. I only need like a 9.5, but I need like a 4E or bigger for my foot to fit in terms of width. So they're on Amazon. They do deals all the time. You can buy like 3 for $100 sometimes. So they're really affordable. They have more expensive shoes, but the only thing I don't like is that they all come with arch support, and I don't need arch support at all. So it's kind of annoying.
Gotcha. Welcome back, Bree. Thanks for joining us again. All right, so taking us into the next question. Is church a good or a bad place in 2025 to meet women?
I think it's bad. I think just like anywhere else, can you find a good woman? Sure. The chances of you finding a good woman depends on your age bracket, and it goes down the older you get.
Okay.
If you can find someone in, like, let's say high school or just out of high school, and you can, like, lock them down, not necessarily get married, but lock them down and kind of guide them. It sounds kind of you know, like you're targeting, but like,
what do they call it? Grooming?
yeah, grooming. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, you know, but the chances of a woman who grew up in a Christian household and like actually practices,
Well, I'm not saying Christian, just any church.
well, no, I
In
understand.
general, yeah. Whatever
But
religion.
like if she actually practices and tries to like, you know, be good and not, you know, sleep around and things like that in high school,
Sure.
which may or may not exist anymore, I don't know. I hear it's bad, but the chances of her like being good up to that point is very high. Whereas if she goes to like college or she gets out in the real world, then your chances start going down of her still, for lack of a better word, being pure or being in a position to, I guess, be that caliber that you're looking for, right?
Sure.
I think a lot of it, especially if you were to look at like women that you and I would date, would be like ideally mid-20s to 30. I would prefer not to date a woman that's 30, but she can't. Well, she can't. You have a kid. I don't. She can't give me the amount of kids that I want.
That's true.
So
That's true.
A 30-year-old just doesn't really make sense for me. But anyway, they very much so could be a hoe, disguising as a chaste and traditional woman.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I hear a lot of stories about men that they marry these women and then find out that they were like extreme hoes in their past, and they feel like they were lied to.
They find them in church?
Yes.
Like, specifically?
Yes.
Yeah. Because the whole thing that brought this up was I was reading about something where that is the new spot to go after they hit that 30 wall.
Right, and it's because there are men who have been in that church who are like, God, please give me a good woman, and they're still fairly innocent compared to the women.
The men don't know any better because they haven't been out and about.
Yes.
So they're going to accept this pretty girl that comes in who's been on the pole for the last 6 years.
Yeah, they think that they're scoring, and then if they were to get down to it and really find out about her and her past,
she's been on 300 guys' laps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tend to, so like those kind of women, they still tend to hold men to an unreasonable standard. They just compare you more to like God as opposed to an ex, you know, and they'll use that to gaslight you.
Okay.
I've dated several women who will say and do like just crazy shit. But then if I get a little upset about something or I say something they don't like, now, is that something that God would do or Jesus would say? You know, some stupid shit like that. I'm like, go fuck yourself, bitch. Do you realize like what you did to me yesterday? Like, okay. It's just, I think it's.
So you think it's bad?
It's bad. It's genuinely just like a survival tactic.
What is the percentage that you think of good women that are in church versus bad?
Okay, I haven't been in a church in a while.
Okay. Terrible sinner. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I would. But I would. So when last time I was like actively in a church.
Yep.
I would say the percentage of women that would like actually be dateable is probably around 25% that aren't already tied down. And it's probably a lot lower these days.
25% single.
Of the single women, yes.
But how many are actually good?
Well, that's what I'm saying. About 25% of the single women.
25% of the single women.
So like,
okay, how many women are single in church though?
Not as many as you would think.
Less than 50% of what goes there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So like you could interact. So like they have groups most churches have like Sunday school groups for different age groups, right?
Yep.
In your age group, there may be one to three women, unless you go to just like a mega church or something.
Sure.
We'll say one to three, 1 to 5 women who are single. Maybe one or two of those women are actually somebody you would want to settle down with, and they probably again have unrealistic standards for who they're going to marry.
Okay. And then reverse question. If you're not looking for a relationship and you're just looking for hookup culture, is a church a good spot to go other than a bar or a nightclub?
Yes. Yes.
Right? In the reverse, you have to think about it in all aspects.
You have to deal with a different kind of crazy. You're going to have to work harder to get it, but it would be very easy to keep a woman around that goes to a church that you just want to date if she's not like a super devout Christian and has been her entire life, right?
Sure.
Meaning like she's not promiscuous. She maybe has only dated one or two guys. It's very easy to spot out listening to how they respond to questions in Sunday school.
Okay. So there you go. From the man himself. Church, not so good for a place to pick up women.
Yeah, I will add on to that. I've seen a lot of men who have been divorced by these Christian women, and again, they're like, it's God's plan. It was God's plan that we split. No, bitch, it wasn't.
It gives them a new excuse to walk away.
Yeah, it's like that is the most
interesting.
That is the most sacrilegious thing
you think
could
it would
possibly
be
do.
Ideally, for the opposite reasons, it should make them want to stay more, right?
Well, because
according
that's what
to
it
marriage,
teaches,
that was based on what it.
Now that said, apparently the statistics still are in favor of Christians who are getting married in terms of divorce rates.
Yeah.
The divorce rates are down significantly compared to normal people. I think the divorce rate for the majority of people in general is like 70 to 80%.
Yeah. Yeah. Something 70.
You would have to really look at studies to get an accurate number, but most people who claim to look at this data and are much smarter than me say that it's less than 50% on the Christian side.
Got it.
But
again, we're talking about religion in general.
Well, religion in general, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think from what I understand, and I guess we're talking outside of America at that point, though, when you start talking about other religions.
Well, not necessarily. So you can talk about Abrahamic religions, because that would include Islam.
Islam and stuff like that. I know that they stick around a little bit more.
Brother, I would be down to marry a woman who is traditionally Islamic because
they have the traditional values and they fear God to follow them.
Most of the time, yes.
Right. I gotcha.
Because it's like, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but like it's still very much in their culture for like the man or the husband to beat them if they don't stick to it. So
rock and sling.
And the whole idea, right, is that I'm not saying like Islamic women in America get beat all the time. It's just there's the fear of repercussions, right? They understand and fear being shamed.
Right. Right.
We know two people who are marrying women of the Islamic faith.
That's true.
And I'm like, oh my God, these women are like perfect.
I haven't met them.
Well, yeah, we haven't met them.
But just at least what we're being told and what's on paper, right?
Yeah,
the checklist. They're meeting some of the criteria that we would be looking for in a. I get what you're saying.
Like unicorns, you can't find that stuff.
No.
Now they may have an insufferable personality when you get to know them, but I mean, even then, that's so much more worth it than dealing with the crap that we have to deal with normally, right?
Correct. And that goes into my next topic and what I wanted to bring up while we got some people here with us. So if you guys want to chime in, feel free on this topic here. Some of the criticism that we've gotten this week, why is it that you think women think that they are happier if they make money and they are single? What makes them think that this is a happier lifestyle in 2025?
Because it's what they've been taught. Just like our generation was taught, if you want to make money and you want to be something, you go to college. It's building off the same principle, right?
Is it their parents teaching them that? Social media,
both,
everything,
everything, yeah.
Overall,
if you were told something enough growing up when you were still impressionable, you will believe it until something radical happens that changes your mind.
Changes your mindset of okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the follow-up to that would be the money-making portion. It's what they're being taught. Let's just say they get there. Let's say they're making over $70,000 in most places in the country. That's fine, except for some of the really expensive states, right? At what point do they say, I don't need anybody else in my life? Is it because now they are the provider? They're taking a different role than what they're traditionally used to, so now they don't see the value of what a relationship can bring? Or is it because they've just been hurt by too many people and they're over the stress and whatever the emotional roller coaster is for women when they're dating?
So based on what I see, and statistics that we can look at, listen to people talk a lot.
Yeah.
I think at first they can kind of make themselves believe that they don't, because they are the provider, like you said, because but it's still new, it's still fresh, right? It's still like they feel like they've accomplished something. They're still riding that high of being like, yes, I've made it, kind of thing.
Okay.
The longer they go, the more tired they get, and the harder it is for them to find someone that they feel like they're compatible with and they want to settle down with. It becomes more cope, right? So they like have to tell themselves that, so that
they feel better about their current situation in life and their placement. I can see that as the argument, because we've had so many comments this week from people in some of these other videos about just, oh, I'm single and I've never been happier. Or
bullshit.
My last relationship was super toxic and now I'm happy as hell because I don't have to deal with anything.
Okay, but you picked someone who was fucked in the head, right? Like,
I mean, a lot of the times accountability goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that society in general has missed. Everybody's very quick to point the blame, especially when it comes to relationships, right? The other side of being happier single was the older they get, they seem to have also got it in their minds that they don't need to be in a relationship. They don't need children. They don't need any of this other stuff. I thought about this a lot this week, because I remember what our conversation was last week and some of the things that I said and the spicy clips we put out there, right? I thought about it in my own universe of marriage, and one of the comments was talking about, I think it was from a guy, why is marriage such a focus of the conversation of what's going to make people happy? And I get it from a perspective of, I don't think that you traditionally need marriage, because you can be very happy in a relationship. You can have children without the marriage. You can live together. You can have all of the fundamentals of the marriage without actually being married. So I think as a broad term, we use marriage as the result, because it's a very easy way for us to understand what I'm trying to depict to you as the situation, versus me tell you, oh, happy relationship, children, living together, fundamentals of it. You know what I mean? Without having to explain all that, I can say marriage and you understand where I'm getting. Right. So it's a word that we use to get to the point. I agree that maybe marriage in America is not the ideal. And we've talked about that in other clips. I don't think that there's a lot of incentive for men to get married. I think there's a lot of detriment, and I think you have to be very choosy in who you're picking. And I think you have to do your due diligence to not get screwed over in that situation. The only thing you're getting is like a tax break, and even that's kind of negligible at this point, right? But where do you draw the line and say, I'm just not going to get married, and I'm just going to do the whole family thing without that piece of paper?
You gotta find a good woman who's willing to do that, though.
So that brings my point. You right into the trap, right? What makes the woman still want marriage in 2025? Because according to these comments, they've never been happier without it. Do you see why
it's just fucking cope?
It's like this circle that we can't get out of. They don't want marriage. They've never been happier. But if they get into a relationship, the first thing that they ask is, when are we getting married?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Like I said, that's what I'm saying.
How does this make sense? Like, why are we going in a circle?
That's what I'm saying. It's all cope. It's all cope. All of these women, it's just like dudes talking shit about women, and then a woman finally pays attention to him, and he's, puppy dog eyes following her around like, I'll do anything for you. It's the same kind of bullshit. Or like the dude, how many people, that are watching too, how many of you people have seen a guy who acts all big and bad or whatever, and then his woman comes around and it's, yes, honey, whatever you say, massa. You see what I'm saying? It's the same shit. Just,
I've seen some of this.
It's the same shit, just reversed.
Seen some of those people.
Same shit, just reverse. You have women who are coping with their lives, and then if they meet a good guy or a guy that they think is of their type and meets their quality standards, then it'll flip the script like that. It's not even. There are women. I remember seeing a bunch of women in college. Never dated anybody, never whatever. They were just kind of indifferent. Anytime you'd ask them about it, you could tell they were trying to figure out what to say so they didn't sound bad, or some of them would just come out and say it. As soon as they start dating a guy, immediately that flip switches.
I'm going to try and clip this section up a little bit and put it out there, because I'm genuinely curious of how the women are going to respond to what I was just saying about why do you want a marriage when you're in a relationship versus I'm completely happy being single. Like, where is the parallel of? I can almost guess that I got into a marriage when I was young and I didn't know any better.
I mean,
that's the only thing I can think of where their logic is going to go, right?
I mean, where's the accountability though?
There's none.
It's just bullshit, right? It's just bullshit.
It's they force a guy to do something he probably didn't want to do in the first place, and now that it's over and you've left him, and now you're happier than ever. Then why did we do this in the first place? You should have just left me alone.
I think just like for men, how it is to seek women for sex, women that's like part of locking down security for women is getting that's
what I think it is.
Construct of marriage in place, right?
Would you say that women that are focused on getting married for those reasons, for the wrong reasons, are insecure, and that's why they're looking for that security of locking somebody down?
Insecure in what way?
They don't want their guy to leave them. They may think he's good looking. They may think that he makes a lot of money. They may think whatever it is that they're trying to extract from him. They're insecure that without the marriage title, he can just walk away at any time.
That's probably a good way to look at it.
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, we've established, and it doesn't mean women think this way, but we've established it would, if you do very tiny things for a man, very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not unimportant, but
minuscule.
Yeah, sure. Very minute things for a guy.
Yep.
On a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even necessarily have to be nice to him. Let him hit it every once in a while. He's going to try to keep you around whether you're in a marriage or not.
It's true.
Right? Like, you be good to him just a little bit. And
as long as you don't drive him nuts, too.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, be good to him just a little bit, and he will keep you around forever, right? So it's like...
Yeah. As long as he's not in the phase... I always go back to this because I want to... This is my little 2 cents of not always being on the guy's side. If you, as a woman, get into some sort of encounter with a man, whether that be a relationship or just sexual, if the man is high enough tier where other women are finding him attractive regularly, whether it's his looks, his money, his personality, his whatever that he has going on that other people are looking at him, a lot of the time, that guy, because he has options, is not looking to settle down.
Right.
And that's where the women get confused, because then they start going, well, why? I just gave up some sex. Why is he not settling down with me? Why is he not that? What did I, you know what I mean? Oh, he's just like all these other guys. I've talked about it in the past in a previous episode, but I'll say it again while we have people. There is that mountain that I was talking about. The women kind of start at the top of the mountain when they're younger. They're 18 years old. They're at their peak. They look great. Society is waiting to see how far they fall off that mountain. They're trying to see what kind of promiscuous acts they perform. How old are they going to get before they get married or in a serious relationship? How old are they going to get before they have children? Are they going to fall far, right? Eventually, we all do. That girl at 18 is eventually going to be 70, and she's going to be down here. It's just, there's no way around it. It's just the way it is. A value as a woman is how you look. You can deny it all you want and say, well, I'm educated. I'm great. Fantastic. But guess what?
In a relationship, no one gives a fuck.
In a relationship, doesn't care. And it helps. But it's not the main contributing factor, because I don't want to talk to a dummy all day either. But the other side of it is, look at just media in general. If you're going to be the leading star of a movie, you're going to be young and attractive as a woman. That's just the way it is. If you're going to be the leading star in the movie, you got to just have whatever it is. You can be Jack Nicholson and be old, but still be the star of the movie, right? There's a difference of level here. So if the women start at the top, men start in the valleys down below. They start at the base level. They got to climb themselves up the mountain. They got to see how far they get. They got to see what kind of career they get. How much money can they make? Can they develop themselves as a good person? Are they going to hit the gym? Are they going to have a good structure, a mental sound mindset going forward in life? Are they going to be a bum? Are they going to do drugs? Are they going to get into crime? Are they going to do all these things? So they have to climb up the mountain. Getting back to the original point, we have to meet in the middle. Whatever that middle is. So if the guy has gotten 70% of the mountain, then that girl can only fall 30. If the guy gets 90% of the mountain, he's almost at the top and he's rich and he's famous and he's everything, then that girl can only fall 10. Or he ain't going to like her. There's a point where you meet, and that's why I say if the guy has only climbed 10% of the mountain, and he's not making it and he doesn't have a lot going on for him, you're going to get stuck with the girl that's fallen 90%. She's going to be ran through. She's going to be busted. She's going to have a whole crazy past and a whole bag full of meds that she shakes up and takes every day. She's going to be nuts. It is what it is. But you have to meet with your partner somewhere in the middle. You have to find that balance or it's not going to work.
So back to the original point about what makes where does that take you then with how women, even though they say what they say, they're still seeking, they're still seeking that marriage, right?
They're still seeking the marriage, but that goes back to the original point, right? So men and women, as the woman's coming down, she's seeking that marriage, but she's not always seeking it with the person that she's supposed to be seeking it with. She may have fallen that 60% and she's still seeking the top 20.
Okay, so you're saying,
you see what I'm saying?
So you're saying that it's like like I mentioned earlier, it's like a defense mechanism for losing
the opportunity because they can't get back up once they fall.
Yeah, losing the attention that they were once able to garner.
That's correct. Exactly right.
I see.
Exactly right. And the same thing for the man. If he doesn't make it very high, let's say the peak that he ever gets is 20% up the mountain.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the girl that's only fallen 20. And every other dude is also trying to shoot a shot at her. You need to lower your standards.
Yeah, you probably going to have to stick with the tortas.
That's my advice. And if that analogy does not work for you, then you're just not paying attention. Because that makes sense more than anything that I think I've ever said on this damn show. And it's very fair. It's the most fair thing and an assessment of what we're talking about in general with women and men. It's a lot of hard work on both ends.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, it's so hard to not overeat and to not be like, yes,
we have more standards. The mountain's
everything.
a little dense at the bottom. You got to climb up that.
Talking about
it's
women.
a little hard. No, I know it's hard for men to get up.
I'm talking about women though. Yeah, it's so hard to push that plate away and not finish. Not overeat.
That's why the peak of the mountain is thin.
There's
not a whole lot of requirements to stay up there.
Oh, it's so hard to say no and not let these dudes ravage me.
Well, I mean, if I was a girl, I might get ravaged. Who knows?
to those comments about women being happier now that they're single.
Yes.
Just to prove that it's even more cope.
You guess statistics or what?
And so I didn't write down the specific studies because I literally flipped through probably like 25 to 30 different studies. Mm-hmm. All the website's called Science Direct. They publish medical journals and all kinds of studies based on social standards and things like that.
Okay.
Reading through a bunch of them this past week, they all come to the same conclusion. The amount of women who are diagnosed with depression and or reporting like severe unhappiness with their life, or we'll say what, malcontent with their life, is significantly higher in women who don't have children versus women who do have children, right?
So you found the study that says that.
There are several, and they go over how many people that were a part of the study. They go over their controls, all of the limiting factors, things like that.
I have a counter argument to that, though.
But I mean, every single one.
And it's not even an argument. It's more or less just a.
It was like 30 to 50% more.
Let me give you the pinch of reality on that. That's what I'd rather call it. The problem with that studies is I agree with it, but that is a minority of women. I would argue the majority of women have children out of wedlock and are young moms who have kids at 20, 18, 19, 22, and then don't stay with the baby daddy and then still have the kids later on. I would like to see how happy those women are with children running it by themselves when they hit 40.
But see, that's the caveat.
And being the single mom lady.
So that's just it. Most of these studies didn't differentiate between married with kids and not married with kids.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
They're just talking about
in general. Do kids have help?
Yeah, and the answer is yes.
Of course.
And look, there are hundreds of studies published over this stuff just in the last 5 years on this website that you can go look at and read all you want. Hundreds, if not
Drop
thousands.
the website for the people who, in case this part gets clipped at some point.
ScienceDirect.com. You can literally type in a question or just like depression rates among single women, and boom, it'll spit
Give you
out
the
a
actual
list.
statistics.
Yes, it will spit out. It'll not give you the actual statistics. It spits out a list of hundreds of published studies and medical journals going over and reviewing this kind of stuff and surveying people.
That's good, because I can't tell you how many times in the comments I'm just going back and forth with people just think that I'm making stuff up, so they start making stuff up, and we're just like, what are we doing?
Like you're I saw so much of that this week. You're a fucking child. Like, just because you don't believe what we're saying
Doesn't make it not real.
Yeah,
Like,
that's like saying 2 + 2 = 4. No, it doesn't.
Right.
The Earth is the Earth. It'd be like the Earth is round. No, it's flat.
Well, there's a lot of people that believe that.
But that's why I brought that up, right? Like how. There's just no point in arguing with those people because they refuse to accept reality. Like, we're literally going, here are the cold hard facts.
One of the comments was something about, it was the one where I said to that guy that a majority of men are physically stronger than a majority of women. And this guy refuted my argument up and down.
That guy's a virgin.
I was like, what are you? You're not living in reality.
That guy's never even. I bet
You've just never heard of testosterone, size difference, weight classes, like nothing. You're oblivious to all of it.
I bet you the only box he's seen is on the internet.
It's very insane to me.
It is. That was so stupid.
I just stopped the argument at that point. I was like, I'm done, because you're not even. This just doesn't make sense. You're just trolling at this point. My last question for you for the day: is wanting a family an outdated mentality?
I would say no. I think it's just become more of a commodity and rare to have a successful one.
Okay. Is it? I guess I should be more direct and change the question. Let's answer it in two ways. Is the idea of wanting a traditional family, married with children in a home, an outdated mentality versus wanting a family with a kind of makeshift relationship, whether that be a stepdaddy or a new guy that comes in or kids out of wedlock versus all that other stuff? What is the rarer of the two? Let me ask you that first.
Well, the rarer of the two is definitely, mother and father.
The whole traditional,
the traditional nuclear family, for sure. Okay. Absolutely, it's got to be more. I mean, we don't have the statistics to back it up right now, but it's got to be more
rare. We're just
rare,
speculating right now.
I mean, you look at divorce rates. You look at how many single moms are out there. How many men are just having to deal with either not being able to see their kids or just being stuck on child support.
Yeah,
it just there's no way. Divorce lawyers make way too much money for that to not be the case, right?
That's true.
I would caveat that and say that that's definitely the case if you are insistent on marrying an American woman or like a Western woman. I am still in favor of finding a woman from not a westernized country.
Okay.
Who upholds more traditional values.
Full passport, bro.
Full passport, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get it. When you're talking about somebody who's going to be with you there long term and do that whole thing, I do get the mindset of it. I don't know if it's for me, but this is also from somebody who's not really seeking, and also, I don't know. I guess I haven't dabbled with too much of these other cultures to want to really be in it. You know what I mean? In for the win it.
This may be anecdotal, and it may be where a woman would look at me and say, "Who hurt you?" Mm-hmm. But I've seen way too many men in my life go through a miserable divorce, with a horrible woman.
Let me give you the counter perspective real quick. In those miserable divorces, was it miserable for the woman too?
She may think it was, but
like if she's going to talk to her friend, she's like, "You went through a miserable divorce, girl."
Maybe, but that's just like what women do, and the consequence of not living in reality.
Right.
Being an outsider looking in and seeing everything going on it was
Bad.
100 times worse for the men. I mean, not even close.
Anecdotal, like you said, because it's just from certain experiences that you've witnessed and not the broad spectrum of what happens, right?
Right, but that's corroborated, right? So like we're pattern recognition machines, right?
Yep.
And whenever I listen to divorce lawyers who have become millionaires off of divorces and representing men in those divorces, mind you, talk about the things that women do and how this is common and this is happening more and more every day.
Yeah.
And to see the divorce rate be, you know, even above 50%, it's just for me it corroborates that, right? Like the one thing if I'm fearful of anything in this world, it is settling down with a woman who would put me through that. And really it's bad because kids are involved, right?
Yeah.
I saw my older brother cry for the first time in his ever when he was in his 30s over her keeping him from seeing his child. And you know what's so bad is that she was in violation of the court order and she still didn't go to jail.
So what was did he have to go back to court or no?
Yeah, he had to go back to court.
And what was the result?
The judge acted like he was going to throw the book at her and said if she does it one more time, then, you know, he's
Just a
going
warning.
to. Yeah, but I'm like, fuck, if he violated the court order like that, he'd have gone to jail.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They would have got him for kidnapping or
What
something.
the hell? Yeah, what the hell?
100%. 100%.
So stupid.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Like, I'm telling you, some of these women have turned, and again, the honest is kind of on the man for picking a bad woman.
Yeah, there's accountability both ways. For sure.
But God, man, some of these women are just so
Spiteful.
fucking vile.
Spiteful.
Vile. I mean, would not piss on them if they were on fire bad.
Yeah.
Like,
You just have to stay away from them because I know which ones you're talking about and I've met them. I've seen them plenty.
But
I've also seen the good ones. So I do give both sides of it.
right, but what percentage of women are still in that good
Not
portion,
as
you know what
many
I'm
as
saying?
less than half.
Less than
I don't
half,
know what the
right?
percentage is because, Rand, I don't have them. I would be talking anecdotal at that
Right,
point of the
yeah.
ones that I've met. But I can tell you for sure out of the ones that I've met, it's 30% or less are
And,
still good.
We got a comment too about how, you know, men are just as bad or this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, no. Okay. I would say like maybe we'll say 80% of the men in that top tier of percentile that would use and abuse and treat women a certain way. I would argue that the majority of most other men would do what they have to have a family and to keep that woman happy and around, right? And that's not saying that he's going to make $1 million a year or even 6 figures a year, right? You may not live the life you want, or you may think that he's not worthy because he's not providing you a 6-figure lifestyle, right? He may make $50,000 a year, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be good to you and he won't provide a good life for you, right? A happy life. You can be happy and fulfilled and not live rich.
Right.
And I don't know. It just, I saw a lot of cope in the comments this week. It was kind of entertaining for me. Because like these women just don't understand just how vile like either they themselves are or like the people that they're sticking up for are. And I'm not saying all women are bad, but like
I think that's a lot of what it is. Even the good ones, and if this, and I probably won't get clipped this card, it's not this clip. But anyway, they'll never see this, but I'm going to say, I'm sure some of the women in the comments are trying to make valid points, and they don't feel like they're the wrong ones, but you're sticking up from the girls that are. And it doesn't make sense for you to stick up for women as a whole when you don't really understand how bad they actually are out there.
Yeah.
Like, you're not dealing with them as much as men are. And if you are, then you're encouraging that bad behavior.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make sense.
That's what they're doing. They're encouraging this bad behavior.
It's really strange.
And it's really not making it better for you to be in the pool with all these bad women because it's making men as a whole, not that, you know, not saying that all men should act jaded towards women, but like you are putting men in a position that they have to, you have to really do something, right? If a man has been through, let's say 10 relationships and they all ended poorly, something bad happened, whether it was his fault or not, right?
Sure.
It's going to take that man that much longer to look at you from a place of like comfortability, right? Or to think that you're actually not there to screw him over, or that, what's the best way to put this? If you want him to like let those walls down and like actually want to be with you, that's so stupid.
That was crazy.
That's so stupid. Even on the live studio.
Even on the live.
Anyway, but yeah, so like for a man,
Just hit an hour.
and you could say this for anybody really. This could go the same way for women. But yeah, so like for a man,
Just hit an hour.
and you could say this for anybody really. This could go the same way for women. Is it? Okay, we got it. We got it. We
Freaked
got
out
it.
for a second there. I guess it was just refreshing. Hopefully we didn't lose it. Looks like it's still on.
Every bad experience is going to make you act a certain way going forward in the next relationship, right?
Yep.
And eventually people, I'll say people in general, get to a point to where that next person's going to have to work that much harder to get them to let their walls down, right? To put them in a certain position to like either get the relationship or...
Yeah, relationships in general are in a place in society in America right now where everybody's bad behavior, men and women, is hurting the next relationship for the next person.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting to, right? So if you're the guy who's out there and you've cheated on 16 women and you've done this and ran the trains and everything and gone through the roster, you're probably the upper 20 to 30% of men in the first place. And now you're making it that much harder for the 70. And I get it that you don't care if you're getting yours wet. Why do you give a shit about the other 70% of the guys, right? There's not a lot of compassion when it comes to men. In that case, they're just going to be like, get better, bro. Now for the women, same kind of aspect. If you're out there doing the wrong thing, hurting men, cheating, not ghosting people, not answering texts, giving out numbers and then just ignoring, whatever it is, whatever the bad behaviors are out there for women, you're also making it that much harder for women. And just based on the comments that we've been getting, it seems like that's important to you. It seems like other women are important to you as a woman. It seems like you care how we talk about other women. It seems like you care how they're treated. And it seems like you care how they can pursue their own happiness. A lot of what I've seen, to be honest, is they just don't care about relationships at all. I don't know if that's more cope, right? It probably is.
It's more fucking cope.
It's just,
they're looking,
at the end of the day, they still probably want
they're looking
the right
at the
guy.
10% of men and because that's all they can get it up for, because that's what society has taught them to go for. And they can't get that man. So of course they're scorned when it comes to wanting a relationship because they can't get the man that they want.
That may bring me to a question then. What is the percentage of women that are looking for the top percent of men versus how many men are looking for just the top percent of women?
Oh,
so let's start with women. How many women, percentage-wise, do you think are only seeking the top 10% of men?
it's got to be close to 50% or more.
You say so 50% aren't
Or
even dealing with
more.
anybody less than 10% of the top 10 men. Top 10%.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and now let's reverse it. Men that are only going to take the top 10% of women.
It's a very small percentage of men.
You think less? So like,
Maybe 20%.
okay. So you're saying
Because,
in
like-
general, men are more open to an uglier woman?
Well, yeah, because men are more grounded in reality most of the time anyway, right? And if we can't get a certain type of woman, it's going to be shoved in our face. Reality will let us know very quickly. You're going to get shot down. You're going to get laughed at. You're not going to get any attention from any women. Women can still get attention from a better looking guy or a guy out of their league, and he can just smash and pass, right?
I do, even I think in most guys' friend groups and circles, I think there is something to be said, like an under talked about, like, knowledge that we all have of what we think of a certain guy's game level. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say we'll put numbers or ratings on it. Like, let's say S tier is the best, A, B, C, right, all the way down to D, or F failing, right? Somewhere we have in our minds oh, he can probably pull like most B's or whatever, most C girls, like if we're 8s or 6s or whatever we're thinking, right? So if kind of where I'm going with this is if there's a guy and he's not getting any women because his standards are too high, but he probably could be pulling 6s and 7s, but he's always shooting for 9s and he's got nothing, it lowers the perspective of your friend group. They're like, now we don't think you can get those 6s and 7s anymore. Now we
Right.
think you can just get nothing because you
Right.
failed so many times and you're just not looking at the right ones. So I wonder how much of that plays into the factor of some of these statistics that we see where a lot of these men, 60% of men are going without ever getting married, going without relationships, a vast majority going virgins for an extended period of time, right? What would you say the percentage of that is? Obviously we're speculating, we don't have these numbers, but what do you think the percentages of men that are just shooting too high and that's what's causing them to not have success with women or inflate these statistics? I don't know.
That's bad.
Yeah.
It's probably a good amount. But here's the thing. I think a lot of guys go through that trial and error and most guys realize very quickly what they can and can't pull, right? Like I dated cute girls in high school that were probably higher up on the totem pole than when I got to college because I was around more guys that were taller, better looking, bigger.
Well, we also change as we age, right?
Well, true. But
that can go either way. You can get better or worse as you get older too.
Right.
You let yourself go, and you're the fat guy with the beer belly, and you might be way less than you were in high school.
Right. And I mean, me personally, if I'm more likely to approach a really attractive girl that's shorter, right, than one that's closer to my height because
You have
women
more
typically-
success.
Yeah.
Sure.
And women typically want a man that's, that much taller than them, whatever. To answer your question, I think most men end up in that situation through trial and error anyway.
I wonder how many just give up after they just shoot their shot 6 times, 10 times, 20 times, and then they're just like, oh, I just can't get women, and then they just stay home and just forget about it.
I think it's a lot more in today's society because they're also taught that you're being creepy. Women don't want you to talk to them. Women,
Yeah.
don't be that guy.
Right.
But women are. My mom talks about it all the time. She works in a high school still, and she talks about how.
That'd be an interesting social study, just being in high school still and seeing the dynamics.
So from what she tells me,
Yeah.
all of the smarter, up class dudes. Well, I'll just say white dudes because that's what she says. All the kids with money or they're smarter, more intelligent. They've got a lot going on. Whatever. They have nothing to do with women. They don't want anything to do with them because they see social media and they see what women are, and they're learning that they're not
Listening
worth it.
to the Speak Like the Boss podcast and
Hopefully. And so
They
a
get it.
lot of the women are dating, we'll say very specific groups of people because those people are still like looking to date and like be with women and stuff. But like these guys are learning that the women just like early on that the women just aren't worth it.
Right.
And you're going to be seen like a creep anyway if you go in for it. So
why bother?
yeah, so why bother?
Why bother? Don't get shot down. Don't worry about them and just move on, right?
Yeah, just move on.
It's interesting. And you think that's not a confidence thing? Because I'll give you again, anecdotal, right? But when I was in high school, I didn't know that I was good looking. It was like oblivious to me still because I was still shy. I wasn't approaching girls. I had zero confidence when it came to that. But I was, 6 foot, and in shape still, and, everything was probably good to the fact where I could have done it, but I didn't know any better. And I was just dating the girl that asked me out, to be honest, at the time, and she was not a looker by any means. So
It would be wrong to say that doesn't exist, but
because guys, I feel like get timid. Even if you are good looking, you just don't have that confidence when you're that young sometimes, unless you are the it guy. If you're on the sports team or you're the jock, or you know what I mean.
so for argument's sake, we can say that that's it. But I think it's more social conditioning than it is that they just so like if they grew up in our era, they would have a lot more confidence, right? Because it wasn't such a stigma to not approach women. Women were still looking to get approached, right?
Right.
And now it's kind of they've grown up in that world where they're taught, don't be a creep, don't be, a pedo, don't.
That's true. There's
You're
a lot more
bothering
Me
women.
Too movement, right?
Yeah, the whole Me Too movement. You're bothering women if you hit on them, this, that, and the other, and then women want to bitch about, My mom says that the women at school, even the good-looking ones, are like super desperate to have a boyfriend, and the majority of the men that they are dating are not like
the top guys.
We'll say the top guys in the way that you are thinking.
Okay.
I'll tell you off camera.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We've kind of gone for a while. We're at about hour 10. Do you want to wrap it here, or did you want to touch on what we talked about, the Diddy case stuff?
Oh, we can talk about the Diddy case. Is there anything in particular you want to know about it?
I know nothing almost. I know, obviously, what he did, what he's accused of, why he went to jail, right? All those things.
Yeah, so...
I don't know anything about the actual trial that has been going on now.
So this is...
try to make it in like 5 to 10 minutes. Give me a full scope of what's happening.
Okay, so they're trying to pin racketeering and sex trafficking on him, right?
Okay.
So the prosecution started off fairly strong in who they were like putting on the stand and the evidence they were submitting and stuff. I think her name is Cassie, the main woman that's involved in all of this.
And she's the one accusing him?
She's like the main one accusing him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They talked about like, all the stuff that he would quote unquote make her do. They called them freak offs. So they would pay for escorts.
Yeah.
She would sleep with the escort, and then she would like go in the next room.
Or male escorts. Male escorts. So she would hire male escorts.
And Diddy would like be in the cup chair or be in the other room.
Watching her.
Yeah, or be in the other room. And then she would go into the room with Diddy when she got done with the escort, and she would bone Diddy. Or a popular thing that he liked is to have the dudes stuff, stuff. Like she would like wipe it on him or something.
I got it.
Fucking some weird, crazy shit.
Okay.
A lot of drugs.
I actually believe all of this so far.
A lot of drugs. A lot of the reason why it's like a federal case is because they have records of them like transporting escorts like across state lines and things like that.
So is the escorts the problem?
That's part of it. I think the feds just want Diddy to go down, so they're trying to get him for whatever they can.
Now, what is this lady's problem? She was clearly involved in this by choice. She was doing all this. So how is she even coming at anybody?
I forgot who. So Diddy has a lawyer on his case. I forgot who the guy represented recently, but is known for just obliterating people's credibility on the stand. Super good lawyer.
Okay.
He made her look bad. He revealed like all of their communication, got her to talk about how like she wanted to be in a relationship with Diddy. She wanted to do these things with Diddy. She would actually schedule these freak offs and pay for the escorts and do all this kind of shit.
Okay.
Apparently what it's sounding like is she was a side chick and she got pissed off about it. So that's when... Now, he did beat her a few times.
That's factual?
Factual.
Okay,
like
they have like evidence. They have...
Yes.
Why didn't he
And,
get
like,
cases
video
back
evidence
then?
and stuff.
She didn't come to the table with it back then?
Yeah, I guess.
She was too into it still? Okay.
Oh, and then she would talk... Like, she would sit there and the prosecution would have her talk about when, like, he assaulted her and stuff. And even raped her.
Okay.
But then she would be like still trying to talk to him and still going and hanging out with him and sleeping with him and actively pursuing him. Okay. And they were like nowhere. They were states apart, miles apart. Would have nothing to do with each other.
That's my yeah.
They're making her lose all her credibility.
That's weird, right? Because if you're somebody who has had physical altercations with somebody, or if you've had issues with them in the past, and whatever that may be, there's a reason you're going back. Either you're still attracted, Actually, you enjoy the encounters.
Yeah.
Or there's money involved.
So
either way, it's by choice because she's still going back. It's not like he's going to drag her out of her apartment and buy her hair and bring her back to the Diddy mansion.
Yeah. So it's actually all three of those things, right?
Okay.
She wanted to help her career, but then she also talked about how she actually loved Diddy and wanted to be with him.
Okay.
And what was the other thing you said?
Money. The wanting it sexually aroused, or
she would talk
she
about
that
how
kind
she
of
liked
shit.
the freak offs, and she would be like, "I'll schedule it. Where do you want it to be? What time? Are we going anywhere?"
So then, what? Yeah, you have zero. You can't complain after the fact.
So
that's not how this works.
I was listening to Myron talk about it because he was talking about he was a federal agent, so he knows all the ins and outs.
He went to it too.
All these people got he's been sitting in on it. So all these witnesses, they're all co-conspirators, right? So realistically, the prosecution should be filing charges against all these people because they're all co-conspirators in this racketeering and sex trafficking charges that they're trying to nail on Diddy. But what he's saying is they want Diddy so bad that they are...
what do they gain from it, though? From getting him to go down?
I think they want information on other things. They want him to go down so that they can so he'll give information on all the other kinds of bullshit that he's seen and gone through and been around.
Now, one of the things that I did see, which is very little on this stuff so far, is that he has already denied playing ball with them as far as giving up evidence before the trial began.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, he was like, I'm not guilty, fuck you. Well, you're not getting shit.
So his defense attorneys are trying to, in the opening statement, they're essentially trying to prove that this isn't like a federal case. This should be a civil case because this is a scorned ex who's trying to get back at him, who was a co-conspirator, not, some grand... like trafficking scheme involving these people, which it's all coming out that yes, they're
like he had people working for him that would go and find these people, escorts and stuff.
They would occasionally use a different one, but there were 2 or 3 main escorts that they would.
Okay, so regulars. They would bring regulars in because they could trust them. They're not going to talk, right? They're not going to rat.
And he quote unquote liked their performance.
Fair enough. I mean, sure. After you do it enough, why not?
He's into some wild, crazy freak shit, and it's been kind of disturbing listening to. But
that isn't enough to put him away.
No,
he can be into whatever he wants as long as it's not harming children or something.
Well,
right?
what they're trying to pin him with is like I said, racketeering and sex trafficking, and
But
these
to be
conspiracies.
into sex trafficking, wouldn't he have to physically be abducting people off their will?
So the
hiring an escort isn't that?
No, but if you're knowingly hiring an escort and they can prove it just to have sex, that's where, and they cross state lines.
Okay.
So they flew them out of New York literally just to have sex,
Right.
And they would go to Florida, they would go to LA, Georgia, all these places. So it's kind of crazy. I think the defense is doing a good job of destroying the credibility of the witnesses.
Okay.
Myron was saying that all these people that they're putting on the stand, they essentially were granted immunity from being prosecuted so that the prosecution could get them to talk. And they're they want Diddy that bad.
Interesting.
Because all the stuff these people are talking about, they are essentially, what's the word? They're ratting on themselves too.
Sure. Yeah, they're saying that they were involved in this type of work and crime.
These crimes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the weirdest part about this is why would you try to come forward and not just get yourself thrown in jail? Aren't you committing a crime at that point? You're just pleading guilty.
Well, yeah, but they like I said,
if I walked into a police station and was like, "Hey, I killed somebody," they'd be like,
So
there's the bars, right?
The defense team. So I think it was yesterday. Diddy's old assistant was on the stand while a lot of the stuff went on.
Yeah.
And the defense asked him, "Did you speak with the prosecutor before? Did the prosecutor prep you for our cross examination?" And he said, "Oh, a little bit." And they go, "Okay, well, what did you talk about?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't really remember." He's like, "Well, it was 2 hours ago. How did you not remember?" But anyway. Essentially, he got him to say on the stand that he was given qualified immunity or whatever it's called. I think Myron was calling it a 5K-er, but I don't. Yeah. It essentially just means that you can't be prosecuted for what you're admitting to make him go to jail.
Right.
make Diddy go to jail.
Gotcha.
So the defense, they're making this Cassidy chick look like a hoe. I didn't mention this yet, but they also talked about how the guy she's currently married to, she was actively dating him, like they were in a serious committed relationship, and she was still flying out to like have sex and do these freak offs and these crazy things with Diddy. They even brought up a scenario where she was having sex with Diddy and this guy tried to FaceTime her and she ignored the FaceTime. So it's like, if you're this guy's husband, if you're her husband, like he's just demolished at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do you stay around at that point, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
But the defense is doing an insanely good job of destroying her credibility.
Is she the lady that looks like significantly older, or am I thinking of something else?
Is
she a redhead?
I don't think so, no.
No, okay. I'm thinking of something else. Okay, I've seen something recently where those ladies...
They did put a chick on the stand recently who was like part of that Danity Kane group. And they were talking about how like...
That was the one he made back in the day on a reality show, right? Okay.
Apparently the ones who made it were the ones who he could hoe off to his rich friends and make them sleep with them and stuff. But I didn't really get a lot of detail on that. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Diddy's into some weird stuff. I don't know if he's actually going to be... It depends on what all the specific charges are. I don't know if he's actually going to be convicted or not. The thing is that all the people who were involved were granted qualified immunity. So, like, how can the jury rightfully indict him and not all these people who were a part of it, right?
They were all co-conspirators, like you said.
Absolutely,
they
yeah.
were a part of this. They knew what was going on. They performed the acts. They
willingly participated, yeah.
So then, if anything's going on, they're in it. I agree. It's an interesting little wrap up of the whole thing as far as like what he's into and stuff. I get it because we've seen time and time again, the more money that you have and the more sexual access you have, eventually it gets boring. And so I see where they start to jump out of the box and try to do different things. And he's basically dabbling in the realm of doing some weird without being gay. Does that make sense?
Extreme weird.
It's weird, but it's not.
Apparently, he would critique the dude's performance,
But
and you would want another dude. You would want another dude's offspring,
in your
on you, like literally would have her like quote unquote rub it like on his nipples and stuff.
I don't like my nipples touched. Don't touch my nipples.
I mean, I'm okay with a woman touching my nipples, but like,
I don't want anybody touching my
why
nipples.
would I? There's no way in hell I would want another dude's load put on me.
I mean, I don't know what to say. That's
so weird.
Let me say this. From a perspective, from an outside person that is also into some weird, I get it. In theory, thinking about it, but I would never be able to physically put myself in the position to do it.
So what kind of weird are we talking about? Like finger in the butthole weird?
No. Nothing to me. Let's not get into it on the podcast in front of everybody. But I get it from the perspective of... Let me give you a better example. There are men, and probably women as well, that watch porn and very specific types of porn for things that they wouldn't or cannot always perform in person.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? That's kind of where I'm going with this. You could be into something, but not have the access to actually do it for multiple reasons. You can't find somebody that's willing to do whatever it is. You're too embarrassed to bring it up in conversation. Whatever it is. Like, if you're somebody who's like, hey, spin this action figure on your butthole, like whatever. I don't know what the fuck, something weird. Whatever people are into, you've seen all sorts of shit. Usually, like there's giant porn, there's the hentais, there's all sorts of different things for different people, right? Everybody's into a different thing, but I guess where I'm getting with it is you don't always perform it in person because you either can't, or you don't have the access to it, or it's more of just a fantasy and not I want to actually do this. I'd rather just think about it. I get turned off by the fact of thinking about it, not from the actual act of doing it. Does that make sense?
I mean, I get where you're going, but it's still...
But when you're somebody like him that has done everything, can do anything, has the money to perform anything, and you've already slept with thousands and thousands of people, I get why you start to dabble, is what I'm saying. And you start to blur the lines between watching porn and now doing it in real life. Because it's very similar, like, to what you're saying. If he wants to sit back and watch, it's almost like a live performance of corn, right? That's the whole... That's like where you're starting to blur the lines of the same reason you would watch a burlesque show or something else in person, right? You can go home and watch whatever on the internet, but sometimes people want to go in person and watch it. There's strip clubs for a reason. You can still see the same shit on your TV screen at home, but instead you're there. Why? Because you want it in person. So I get the correlation, I guess is what I'm saying. Right?
I will say I was kind of shocked the first time I went to a strip club. I was like, damn, they're doing that kind of shit in here? Damn.
But
it's crazy.
It's an interesting way to wrap this episode, so we'll see how that goes. Do you have any final thoughts for everybody? We had one guy, Alex, who stuck around the whole time, whether he just left his computer on or his phone, I don't know. But he's been around for probably 45 minutes or so now, so shout out to you.
Did we get any questions?
No questions, just people in and out the whole time, kind of.
Oh, come on.
TikTok has a weird algorithm where they'll, after like the 45-minute mark, they stop showing it to people. So for the first 45 minutes, like this person joined, and they're just showing it to everybody. After the 45-minute mark, kind of tapers off, and it's just like one here and there.
Got you.
You know what I mean? So we did get a lot of likes. We got 1.2K hearts while we were sitting here, people just mashing the button.
No way.
So that was mostly in the beginning from like 2 people. So we got that. Like I said, 1 active viewer right now, a couple people that like, and I recognize their name from some of their other videos that they've commented on. They popped in for a minute or two. So, but that was the most of it. Nothing else going on here as far as that goes. So shout out to everybody that joined.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the support.
Yep, definitely appreciate it. We'll try to clip this up and get some new stuff rolling this week and see. Oh, we can take a look real quick. We can take a look and see if there's anything on that other video.
If any of you females want to talk about any of this stuff,
females,
we can talk about it live. You can join in digitally. You don't have to have a face cam. You can maintain complete anonymity. I just want to make you look stupid.
That's not gonna get them to come on here. But yes, anybody in the comments, if you have a good valid discussion and you want to join in one day, and we'll try to figure out a way to be on the show with us and have some conversations or debate something, we can definitely try to make that happen.
Not everybody, just the retards in the comments. I don't know if I can say that word. in the comments, the idiots in the comments who are talking about nonsense bullshit.
But for sure, just if you have some good points and you can prove to me that you can hold a conversation, we'll figure it out one day.
If you get unreasonable, I'm gonna destroy you.
That too.
Or like out of like
nothing new, just views on it. No comments or anything. So we're good. We can end it up here. All right, that's another episode in the books. Follow us, subscribe, do the whole thing. Likes.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe.
Send up some comments. Yeah.
Let us know if you like anything or didn't like anything. We can bring it up in a civil matter as long as it's reasonable.
True.
But like I said, if you get into that nonsense and you start deviating from reality, I might go in on you.
Going in. All right, guys. See you next time.
Step in the room, I set the vibe. Mic in my hand, I let it ride. Words so sharp, they cut the air. Confidence dripping heavy, I don't care. Speak like the boss on every line. Charisma blazing like sun in the sky. Undeniable moves, they can't resist. This podcast got you feeling like you exist. Picking up the flow like I pick up the beat. Headphones on, I'm bringing that heat. Girl next door, yeah, caught her eye. She smiles back like, why even try? Speak like the boss on every line. Charisma blazing like sun in the sky. Undeniable moves, they can't resist. This podcast got you feeling like you exist. Grab the mic, it's a whole new game. Charm so loud it drowns the shame. Words like magnets pulling the crowd. Speak like a king, make your mama proud. The power's in how I twist these lines. Every syllable a ladder I climb. The world's mine when I talk my talk. Swagger so heavy when I walk my walk. Speak like the boss on every line. On every line. Charisma blazing like sun in the sky.